Alright, hello everyone. Sorry, my lights and cables are kind of all over the place. Is that good? It's too bright. That's better. Alright. Hello everybody. Let me just go to my YouTube channel so I can Alright, who we got? We got Kobe. We got Ryan. SS Normandy, Little Gamer. Gray Star Line. Doc. Daniel. Ken. Taylor. Wyatt. Lightning McQueen. Hello, everybody. Good to see you all. Hello, A Fox. Oh, there we go. How's it going? So, let's go ahead and start heating this up. Oh boy. For those of you who had just finished joining my other live stream on my other channel where I was building the water tower, hello again, and as you can see, I cleaned the place up, so so some of you are probably going to wonder, what is that loud noise? That is the kettle. So, so a lot of you don't know, but I have a second channel. It's called Alex Adner, spelled A-D-N-E-R. And on that channel, I do fun stuff, just stuff that is fun for me. And one of those things is, you can see the live streams where I work on the railroad. As you can see, it's a huge mess right now because, again, it's still under more construction. But yeah, so what I did yesterday was I had built this water tower here, and I'll give you a little bit of a closer look. It's for, you know, refilling the water tanks on the locomotives. So if you want to see that, that is, I did live streams of that both yesterday and today. Today I was starting work on one of the tunnels that needs to be built on the train layout. So that's kind of what I did. Otherwise, if you're not into live streams, then you can wait for the official update videos to be put on the channel. I think the first one will be on Tuesday. So that'll be the one where I build the water tower. Thank you, Lightning McQueen. SS Normandy says, I saw a comment on a video. It said they should scrap Queen Mary. I bet it is musty and dirty. You know, some people just really just hate the Queen Mary. They just, you know, it represents something to them that they don't like, you know. Sometimes it might represent, you know, the fact that it's old and unnecessary, or maybe it represents, you know, old Britain, or maybe it represents monarchy. To some people it represents something and they just hate it for that reason. In fact, if you guys have been listening to my audiobook it's called Queen Mary, Queen of the Queens, that audiobook, there's a line in it that I think represents most what the United States is like. It says, Americans do not like things that get old, especially if it's things that are considered utilitarian. They might put up with something that's antique, but they will not put up with something that is utilitarian that gets old. And it's so true. In the United States, we have no appreciation for old things like that. I think really the brunt of the people who care about things like the Queen Mary are probably already subscribed to this channel, to be honest. So it is really sad that that's the way things are in the United States, you know, just people just don't care, you know. And the whole point of this channel is to try to help people to care. So today we'll be having Earl Grey tea. I've got more pumpkin bread that I made. It's still the same loaf. It's like one of the last pieces of the loaf. Now we're going to pre-warm the china. All right, let's see. Who do we got here? Ryan's... Wait, no, hold on. We'll go to Doc. Doc says, having just survived Hurricane Ian, wondering if you could tell a story about Queen Mary surviving a natural disaster. Hopefully she survives COVID. She will survive COVID. That's for sure. Oh, Queen Mary survived a few natural disasters. You know, the main one that everybody knows is the rogue wave that struck her in December of 1942. She was crossing with, if I remember correctly, over 11,000 troops aboard at that time. And it was quite a stormy sea, but everybody was managing. People were kind of locked in their staterooms. You know, the soldiers were locked in their staterooms because the ship was rolling so badly. You couldn't walk down a hallway without slipping and falling, and, you know, it was too dangerous. But then, all of a sudden, the Queen Mary fell into a deep trough, and then rising above her came a 92-foot rogue wave that struck her starboard side, and it rushed up and blew open a whole bunch of the portholes and knocked out a few windows on the promenade deck, and then it even knocked loose a couple of the lifeboats on the sun deck. The water washed between the funnels and then out the other side. The ship ended up rolling 52 degrees off vertical. 52 degrees is, well, let's see, this is vertical. 45 is half of vertical, and 52 degrees a little bit further than that. So she rolled pretty bad. Oh no, 52 degrees is just above 45 actually. So still, that's pretty steep. You wouldn't be able to stand up on a 52 degree angle on a ship like that. So that was a pretty crazy time in her life. Let's see. She's also survived smaller natural disasters like earthquakes. While she's been in Long Beach, she survived several major earthquakes, including the Northridge earthquake, which had destroyed a lot of Los Angeles. She just gently rolled where she was in Long Beach because she's in the water. So she was actually protected from the brunt of the shaking that other buildings were undergoing. If the Queen Mary was on land at that point while the shaking was happening, you can bet there would have been some structural issues. She wouldn't have collapsed, I don't think, but there would have been some major structural issues, and she probably would have been considered too expensive to reopen. So thankfully, she still floats. That's why when people tell me, like, oh, they should permanently put her on land, I'm like, at least not in Southern California. If you're going to put her on land in, like, the UK, where you guys don't get earthquakes, you know. But where she is, she needs to be in the water. But yeah, Doc, I'm really happy to hear that you're okay. A lot of people, you know, they were really put through a lot when it comes to Hurricane Ian. So, you know, hopefully everybody's doing all right. Ryan says, I've never been to Queen Mary, but I will someday. It is well worth the visit. It is well worth the visit. Very much. Daniel says, hey Alex, I missed the railroad live stream. Long story short, what happened? Today I started working on the tunnel that's on the other side of the layout. So I had to design the tunnel and all the frames, and I started cutting out all the wood, and then I started staining all the wood. And that's where I left off, because even though I had 2 hours to work on it, 2 hours was not long enough. And there's still a lot more work to be done. So the next time I do a live stream on that tunnel project, it will be assembling the tunnel and doing the roof and everything, and then installing it. So, Neon says, hi Alex, it's Mr. Olives, but I've changed my name to this. Sorry, I've missed some of your streams. I just wanted to see how your day is today. It's going good. I'm a little sleepy, but it's good. I ended up staying up till 3 a.m. last night working on this water tower. Because for those people who were actually watching the live stream last night, it was a 4.5-hour live stream. And then by the time I finished the live stream, I still had a lot to do on the tower. And I was like, I'm just gonna finish this, you know, even though there's no live stream to show people I'm finishing it, because I did not want to have to wake up today and do more work on that. I wanted to start on something else. I want to get this thing going, you know, like, so I ended up, you know, doing that till 3 in the morning. Oh, let me turn on this thing. Yeah, 3 in the morning. Moonzer, thank you so much for the donation. Hey Alex, I'm 11 and I have 2 questions. One, if the Queen Elizabeth did not sink, where were they going to dock it? 2, have you ever watched the Ellen Tube video where they were ghost hunting on the Queen Mary? So to answer your first question, the Queen Elizabeth was going to sail to different areas of the Pacific, so she would have sailed to places like Hawaii, Alaska, Hong Kong would have been one of the stops. Japan, I believe, is another one of the stops. That's as many as I remember at the moment, but it would have gone around the northern hemisphere of the Pacific Ocean, as part of the curriculum of the university. And then to answer your second question, yes, I did see the show where Ellen DeGeneres sent her people to the Queen Mary to do ghost hunting. But I don't believe any of those ghost hunting shows and things, because I watched it and a lot of that was very explainable, the stuff that happened. All right, I'm just gonna, well, no, I have the Earl Grey today, so I can just stick that right in. Make sure it's tight. And then 4:23 is when I have to check it. Alrighty. Let's get back to comments. SS Normandy says, yeah, another thing I heard people say is they don't like wood paneling. Yeah, I've heard the same thing too. Some people actually just don't like wood at all. They will decorate their house in either stone or synthetic materials because they can't stand the look of wood. To each their own. Everybody can have their own styles and stuff. I prefer to see wood panel. I like the warmth of the color of wood. Like it provides a kind of like coziness. But I've had a friend where their house was entirely like synthetic materials and stonework. Like white stonework. It looked very sterile. Like their apartment looked like it could have been a surgery room. It was very sterile, very cold. It didn't feel comfy. And so, yeah, but that's just my thing. So, but some people just really don't like wood paneling. A Fox says they're sick. Oh my gosh, I hope you get better. Taylor says, imagine someone on the bridge seeing the wave, probably thinking, oh, this is gonna suck. They did see it coming. Yeah, when the wave hit and the ship rolled 52 degrees, they were trying to right the ship. So what they did was the wave came in from this side, and then the captain ordered the ship to be brought around to face the wind, because the wave came in from the side of the wind. So he brought the ship around to face the wind, and then that way the oncoming waves would hit the front of the bow instead of hitting the side of the ship. Because if the waves had kept pounding the side of the ship, they could have come into the windows and sunk it. As far as I understand, they were fine the rest of the voyage. I mean, it was a very rough voyage, but they made it back. Obviously, the ship is still here. But yeah, it was a pretty crazy story. A Fox says, are you happy Oceanic 3 was canceled? I'm not happy. I'm not, like, celebrating. I don't think it would have been a very pretty looking ship, but I mean, but I'm not like happy. Doc says, thank you so much for the lovely story. We got power back after 5 days with Ian, but it was a lot. Oh, wow. SS Normandy says, have you ever watched Nautical Study? Yes, I have. Fun Edit says, hello, Alex. I've not been here for like a month. I'm happy to be back. Good to see you, Fun Edits. I was wondering where you were. Wyatt Horn says, there is another good ocean liner dude out there. I think his YouTube name is Big Ships. I think you're thinking of big old boats. Sarah Neon says, gotta go for a bit. See you later, Neon. SS Normandy says, Alex, people were spamming stuff on your Titanic Honor and Glory video. Were they? I didn't see anybody spamming anything. What were they spamming? Was it like naughty stuff, or was it just them spamming? Ryan says, where do you think SS Normandy would be if she was preserved? If SS Normandy was preserved, maybe she would be in Saint Nazaire as a hotel and tourist attraction, maybe. Taylor Lewis says, I wonder if the RMS Queen Elizabeth would still be around, like Queen Mary, if she hadn't caught fire. Possibly, but at the same time, after being a university, she probably would have been especially beat up. So she might not have been... Nobody probably would have wanted her after that. Because C.Y. Tung did want to preserve most of the spaces as they were. But when you fill a ship full of students don't care. They just mark up the walls, scratch things, destroy stuff. So I think after being a university, she would have been especially tired, and people wouldn't have wanted to keep her. Let's see. Ken says, do you think that Queen Mary would still have been as fast and sturdy as she was, even if she was not potentially needed for wartime? Um, yeah, I think so. She had to be because what Cunard wanted was they wanted to compete for the blue ribbon. So they really wanted to win back the ribbon, and to do that, you need a really fast ship. And as for being as strong as she was, that was also necessary because, in the early years, Mauretania and Lusitania were just wrecked by the ocean. Huge waves came and destroyed their superstructures and damaged things. And so they, with that in mind, they were thinking about how they can make Queen Mary even stronger and more resilient and, all that stuff. And then, of course, the double hull was almost a standard thing to have on a large ocean liner. So the double hull wasn't so much for the military as it was for just, safety, just general safety. So yeah, I think she would have been just as strong and fast. All right. Earl Grey is my favorite tea, so I'm actually really looking forward to having this. That's so weird. I don't remember somebody spamming the chat in my Titanic video. Gray Starline says, "Hello, Alex. If Olympic was preserved, where do you think she would have been docked?" Probably either Liverpool or Southampton. But then, who knows, maybe in the 2000s, maybe they would have moved it over to Belfast, Hello, Ozzy. Weather's really good. I burn my fingers every day. Fun Edit says, "Alex, do you speak Chinese?" No, I don't know. I don't. And Chinese isn't really a language. In China they speak different languages, So Chinese isn't really a language. It's not a sandwich today. Today is pumpkin bread. Wyatt says, "I think Olympic would be preserved in Belfast where she was made, but I do not know." I don't think she would have been preserved in Belfast at first, because Belfast was abandoned and overlooked for decades. It wasn't until after the movie, the James Cameron movie Titanic came out, that people were really started to be interested in Belfast. So, and then, think about it. They didn't build the Titanic Museum until like 10 years ago, or maybe even sooner than that, actually, right? That museum isn't that old. So yeah, they didn't even build a Titanic museum of any kind. And the White Star Line building, or no, I'm sorry, not the White Star Line building. The Harland and Wolff building was abandoned for decades and decades and decades. So no, I don't think they would have put Olympic in Belfast at first, because Belfast was basically just forgotten. They would have put Olympic in one of the cities that was more about ocean liners, like Liverpool or Southampton. But like I said, I think in the 2000s, once the popularity of the movie and stuff was a big thing, and Belfast started coming back to life, I think then maybe they would have moved Olympic to Belfast to try to give some. But then again, would Southampton and Liverpool give up the Olympic? Probably not. So yeah, I don't think Belfast would have been any kind of place for that. They were very lucky that they got nomadic, to be honest. That was a really, really lucky thing. Fox says, Alex, do you think she would have been more popular as Normandy or Stats? I don't know what you're asking. Taylor Lewis is, if Queen Mary was still sailing, would you want to take her for your UK trip, or would you still prefer Queen Mary 2 for all the modern? If the original Queen Mary was still sailing, I'd sail aboard the Queen Mary. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to the Queen Mary 2 because it's modern. I'm looking forward to the Queen Mary 2 because of what's left of what's old about it, you know? So, I do not care for modern cruise experiences. So yeah, if the original Queen Mary was still sailing, yeah, I'd take her over the Queen Mary 2. John says, as launched, the Queen Mary interiors look to have an Art Deco aesthetic. Post-war refit seems more mid-century modern. Might you agree? No, post-war, they still stuck to Art Deco, because mid-century modern didn't really become a thing till like 1955. But after the war, she was decorated in post-war deco. So there's actually three different eras of Art Deco. There was the 1920s Art Deco, which was really, really like something else. 1930s Art Deco and 1940s Art Deco. So there were literally three different ages. And then, so yeah, they updated her to the more 1940s Art Deco after the war. And then after that, they really didn't touch her much after that. They didn't, like QE2 got like whole rooms redone over the decades, but Queen Mary didn't really get that too much. There were like one or two places that got redone in the 50s, but not much else. So, yeah. Yeah. White Starling says, did you know that the Titanic might have got switched with the Olympic? It's not possible. The Titanic did not get switched with Olympic. Yeah, it's not possible. Joe says, hi Alex, I enjoyed your grandfather's immigration story to the US in your last video. Did you get to know all four of your grandparents? Well, he wasn't my grandfather. He was my great-great-grandfather. So I never knew him. Did I get to know all four of my grandparents? No. It's a really long story, but I knew my grandmother very well. She raised me like she was my mother. I lived with my grandmother. That was on my dad's side. On my mother's side, I knew my mother's father. He was not a good person to be around. And so she kept us from him most of the time. I knew my mother's mother. She was really not much of a presence in our life at all. So, yeah, but that's pretty much all I can say about it. Beluga says, I tried to add... I have no idea what Beluga is asking. FunEdit says, Alex, this is a question. If you collaborate Halloween, what are you going to do for Halloween? Oh, celebrate. Do I celebrate Halloween? No, I haven't really celebrated Halloween since I was a teenager. I don't really have a reason to. I don't have nephews or nieces. I don't have children of my own. There's really nothing for me to celebrate. Um, yeah, so, for the last 10 years, I don't really do anything for Halloween, you know. If I had nieces and nephews, I'd celebrate. Halloween, I think, is a really great holiday for kids, especially Christmas. Those two holidays are really great for kids. Now, what my family really likes to celebrate is Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is the day that, our family goes all out and we just make a bunch of food and we just pig out for the whole day. It's really, well, not the whole day, but when the food is ready. Russell Cooper says, why did Lusitania go down so quickly? There were several factors. One, she was torpedoed, and that created a huge hole in the hull. Another reason is that she had longitudinal watertight bulkheads that were really large, really wide, and stretched a good length, each of them, through the ship. So when they filled up with water, they started weighing the ship down to one side, pulling more water into the ship. Also, the explosion from the torpedo had broken open some of the watertight bulkheads and kept some of the watertight doors from closing. So it just allowed too much water to spread throughout the ship very quickly. So that's why. Ivan, unfortunately, I don't have much of advice for you, because you see, I go through the same thing. I'm not really surrounded by people who enjoy the things I enjoy. So what I do is I take to YouTube and I talk to people on there. And, I've developed friendships over the years with people who are into that stuff. If I did have advice for you, it would probably be, go online, talk to people who are interested in the kinds of things you're interested in, and develop friendships. I know that's really hard because, I don't know how old you are, but I'm assuming you're a younger generation than me. But it's really difficult for the younger generations to socialize because to be honest, without trying to insult them, I don't think they know how to socialize. And so I think that leads a lot of them to be quite lonely, and so all I can do is just try to tell you, like, go out there, be more social, try to go online to the the places that have interests, like ocean liners, and if whatever else you're interested in, I don't know what else you're interested in, but go on there and talk to people and be part of a community, and join clubs if you can. So there's like, I once considered joining a model railroad club. I didn't do it because I didn't have a way to get there all the time, but that was one of the things I was going to do, and I was going to join a model railroad club and get to know all these people that like trains, and that's what I did. And when I first started doing this YouTube channel and I would do vlogs at Disneyland, I told everybody, I said, hey, if you see me in the park, come and say hello. I'm really friendly. You will never bother me, even if I'm filming. And I ended up meeting a lot of people that way. People would just walk up and talk to me, and and then next thing you know, we became friends. And so that's kind of how things go in my life. Is you have to be very open to just talking to somebody. And I know that can be difficult for younger generations, but that's something very important in everybody's life, is socializing with somebody. So even though I don't have people here in the vicinity of me who I can like hang out with all the time, I do talk to people online, and I develop friendships that way. Worst comes to worst, start a YouTube channel and do something about the things you enjoy, and you'll find people that way. So, but yeah. Ozzy says, what is the temperature outside right now? Here it is. I think that says 66 degrees Fahrenheit. I think that's what it says. It's hard to read. It's very far away. But it's a nice day today. My apartment's too warm to wear a jacket with tea, but too cold to turn on the air conditioner, so it's not really, Hello, Goofy Rolls. Normandy says, I wish they had kept Queen Mary's interiors. Yeah. I kept a lot of the interiors, just not all of them. Fun Edit says, Alex, what would you do if you were on the Poseidon/Queen Mary when it was capsizing? I don't even want to think about that because I'm going to be taking a voyage on the Queen Mary too, and my biggest fear is that it gets hit by a rogue wave and capsizes. So I don't even want to think about that. All I can tell you is I have thought about it, and honestly, I don't think there would be much I can do. If there's a very slim chance I would survive that scenario, but if I did, I would do what the people did in the movie and, fight like heck to get out of there. So, oh, gosh. Brian says, the book I got has all the photos of the boilers and engine specs from your video with Steve. You must have got the book then. It's called the Quadruple Screw Line, the Cunard White Star Quadruple Screw Liner Queen Mary. Is that right? You're welcome, Ivan. Ryan says, what are some of the woods in Queen Mary? Oh boy, let's see if I remember. Quilted maple. Walnut. English ash. Australian walnut. English elm burr. It's this one. What is this? It's this wood. I'm trying to think. Makassar ebony is another one. Mazer birch. Oh gosh. I think Circassian walnut is one of them. There's so many. There were 56 different types of woods. I believe about 6 of them are extinct now. Yeah. So, but if you want to know more about the different woods on the ship, I do mention a lot of them in my Queen Mary virtual tour video. It's called Queen Mary Narrated Tour. And I literally take you on a tour through the ship, and in my narration I talk about the different rooms and things, and I mention a lot of the woods in the various rooms. So that's one of the places you can learn about that. Justin says, I just found that Queen Mary book and bought it. Luckily, had a decent price. I'm following your audio along with it whenever I can. Oh, awesome. Ken says, idea here. If they ever do dry dock the Queen Mary, they should remove the rudder, plug the rudder post holes, set it on the pier as an exhibit next to the propeller. That'd be a cool idea. Be a huge propeller. I mean, a huge rudder. Kobe says, I know you have commented on the Queen Elizabeth, the second ship. It's Queen Elizabeth II. There's no Queen Elizabeth II ship. But, have you've never commented on the Caronia, or at least I know of. That's because I don't know much about the Caronia. I don't know much about Caronia or Carmania or any of the smaller ocean liners. I'm still new to ocean liners, so with every day I learn a little bit more, but I don't know much. Justin says, I know a lot of the wood types on the Queen Mary include trees and species that are long extinct by now. Heck, even Queen Elizabeth II's own casket was made of English oak, which is very sparse. Yep. Ozzy says, how is Chris the Cookie Monster doing? He's doing good. He's good. I wish he could visit sometime this year, but he's already visited twice this year, so I don't know. It'd be fun to see him again. Maybe it's possible the next time I see him is when we go to New Orleans in the spring. Well, thank you, Ivan. That really does mean a lot to me. A Fox says, do you like Bremen? Not really, but then again, I don't know much about it. Liners of the past. Yes, I know the differences of Titanic and Britannic. Britannic, in some ways, does look nicer, yeah. Tyler says, I really love your Spruce Goose video. Just love it so much history. Thank you. Yeah, I worked really hard on that video. It hasn't gotten very many views, though. It's weird, like, I posted a poll that people did. I want to say maybe 400 or 500 people responded to that poll. And it was basically like, are you interested in more than one subject? And like 92% of the people who voted said yes. But the thing is like when I post these videos, they don't get very many views. So the views on the channel have just been diving. And I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know why. I feel like people aren't watching the videos. I know the core fans of the channel have been watching, that's for sure. But yeah. Kind of bumming me out. I've been working so hard on these videos. Russell Cooper says, why was the Mauretania scrapped whilst a lot of other Cunard liners preserved? Not a lot of Cunard liners were preserved. You had Queen Mary, Queen Elizabeth, QE2. That's it. There's no more Cunard liners. So, and the Queen Elizabeth ended up catching fire. So there's really only Queen Mary and QE2. So Mauretania is not... It's not like there was... Like she was on some targeted list or something. She's just another one of the hundreds of Cunard liners that ended up being scrapped. Wyatt Horn, you're thinking of the Tiger Oak. Yeah, Queen Mary has Tiger Oak. That's probably one of the more famous woods on the Queen Mary because of how much it looks like tigers' faces. Frankie says, "Hi Alex, I'm taking my father to Disneyland next month and it would be his first time back at a Disney park in a long time. Any advice to make a 60-plus-year-old's experience more enjoyable?" Honestly, I don't have any more advice because the park is so very different than it was just 3 years ago. Like, very different. So there's no advice I have anymore that would hold true today. Yeah. I hope you have a good time, though. But yeah, I don't know. K4RNA says, so we talk about the turbo generator statement on the Poseidon Adventure where the ship would power Charleston, South Carolina, and Atlanta, Georgia. Checked into it. Continued. And K4RNA says, anyhow, it could because Charleston had less than 100,000 residents. Interesting. Yeah, I know that, when Queen Mary first went into service, she could power a whole city. She had a lot of power capabilities. Joe B says, do you earn more money if the ads play all the way through as opposed to skipping them? Wondering if that's a small way to help support the channel. Yeah, if you watch the ads all the way through, you do help me by it gives me a little bit more revenue. That being said, I wouldn't ask anybody to do that because I don't do that. I skip through all my own ads, so. Liners from the Past says, why was the rudder on Queen Mary not removed? Because it's so huge. It's just really, really big. And removing it would take a monumental effort. It's much better just to leave it where it is. See you later, Ivan. Have a good night. Doc, I didn't, the immigration story was on the last Tea Time live stream, I believe. But it's really not much. It's really simple. I'll tell you right now, it's really simple. My great-great-grandfather in the 1910s wanted to move up here to the United States. He lived in Mexico, Durango, Mexico. So he spoke to his local Catholic priest. The Catholic priest helped to sponsor him and get him papers to get across the border from Mexico to the United States, and he stayed in LA and he became a mechanic. And that's it. That's literally it. That's all there is to the story. But I didn't want you to have to go and look for it and only to be disappointed that it's not much of a story. A fox says, what do you rate Oceanic? Which one? There were almost 3. SS Normandy says, I hope your channel grows. Thank you. I hope so too. A fox says 3. Well, I don't know much about the third one, so I couldn't tell you. All I know is it would have been a motor vessel. I like steam-powered vessels. Letterman Queen says, do you like crackers? I like whole wheat crackers, but I don't just eat crackers by themselves. Like, I usually put something on them. You know, like I usually put like fig jam or something. Or if there's, like I like to have a little bit of white cheddar and what's that one called? And salami. White cheddar and salami on a cracker is really good. SS Normandy says, are ocean liners similar to trains because they use steam? That's where the similarity ends. The fact that they use steam. Everything else is very, very different. Very, very different. You know, it's funny, a lot of people were asking me to watch the movie The Legend of 1900 because it has, you know, ocean liners and stuff. And my friend Chris and I, we queued up the movie and we had read through some of the description of the movie and we were like, this actually sounds really interesting. We watched the whole 3-hour movie. We did not like it at all. Not a single minute of it. It was a really bad movie. And it came so highly rated. Like, everybody on my channel was like, you gotta watch The Legend of 1900. I'm like, and we finished it, we were like, wow. Like, that was like a waste of 3 hours. I hated that movie. Russell says, do you think it would be possible to have a rudder on the bow of a ship? Possible, yes. Practical, no. Thank you, Goofy Rolls. But it'd be nice if the videos were viewed now, because if you think about it, as long as my channel maintains a certain viewership, I can keep making videos. If I keep maintaining this low viewership, I can't make videos. So then the videos will stop. And then who will, you know, you'll have a limited amount of it. So the way I see it, the more videos I produce, the better. Because then you get to learn about more and more things. Do I ever do a little cheese board at tea time? I haven't yet. That could be a good idea. I haven't yet, though. The prices of cheese and meat have been really high lately. A fun edit says, Legend of 1900 or High Seas, which one is worse? Easily Legend of 1900. High Seas wasn't bad. I just couldn't get into it. It just wasn't interesting to me. But it wasn't a bad show. But Legend of 1900 was bad. Mark says, I must agree with you, Alex. I did not enjoy Legend of 1900. And I usually warm to any movie with ocean liners, real or fictitious, featured. Yeah. K4RNA says, I could not super chat you last night on the live stream for the railroad. So this is for one tree on the railroad. Thank you so much. That's funny. Fun Edit says, the Legend of 1900 ship looks like Lusitania. It did look like Lusitania, yeah. Sad with Book says, hey Alex, how was your train table? Sorry couldn't join last night. It's okay, it's good. I built a water tower, and then today I started work on a tunnel. A Fox asks, Lusitania or Titanic? Lusitania, for sure. Hello, California Rail. Doc says, okay, we know you don't dress up, but do you watch any classic spooky movies this time of year? I have a list of movies that I watch this time of year, but I wouldn't call them necessarily classic. So some movies I watch during this time of year, I like to watch a lot of scary movies, so I like movies like The Others. I also have a movie called The Babadook, which is another... That one spooks the crap out of me. That one's pretty scary. If I feel like it, I'll watch Insidious, but it's kind of a silly movie, so I don't like watching. It's like very silly. Like, I know it's funny because like I remember watching it in theaters, and everybody in the theater was like screaming bloody terror because they were so scared. But I was like kind of laughing at it. But it was a good story, so I was kind of like, you know, so I did enjoy it for that reason. But anyway, so I do watch Insidious sometimes. If someone I know is watching the original Exorcist, I'll watch it. But I don't go out there and look for the Exorcist because I've seen it so many times as a kid. I've seen it too many times as a kid, basically. Sometimes I will watch The Nightmare Before Christmas, but I generally save that for the Christmas season. So I watch Nightmare Before Christmas closer to Christmas time, but on occasion I have been known to watch it during Halloween season. There's maybe a few other movies here and there that I'll watch during this time of year, but I mean, I can't think of anything specific at the moment. My sister, she gets all into Halloween. She decorates her apartment and everything for Halloween, which is cool. It looks nice. I just don't do that myself. I used to be really into decorating my apartment for Halloween and Christmas. So I am not one for tacky decorations. I'll tell you right now. Maybe that makes me a bit of a snob. Maybe. I do not like tacky decorations either for Halloween or Christmas. I like stuff that looks nice. My idea of a Halloween-themed house is like real pumpkins, you know, real bouquets of like fall leaves and things like that. I like very natural looking decorations. For Christmas, besides the green tree, the colors I like are red and gold. Red, gold, and silver sometimes, but red and gold. I like those colors. And so but I do not like tacky decorations. And so I used to spend a lot of money when I was younger. When I, like, around the time, you know, I was working at Disney and stuff. Every year I would transform the apartment to look really nice for Halloween and then for Christmas. And I spent so much money doing that. You know, I went to some pretty interesting places to get some pretty cool decorations that were nice and good looking. But then, like, you know, I even got a really expensive tree too. Like, my Christmas tree has to be very specific. I like realistic looking Christmas trees. I've been known to buy real Christmas trees in the past, but as I become more and more environmentally conscious, I just decided not to buy Christmas trees, especially because they get expensive and they die really, really quickly. So a couple of years back, when I was still living in California, I decided to buy a fake tree, but I didn't want to buy the fake tree that everybody gets at like Walmart and stuff. I want one that they would use in like a movie, a really nice fake tree that is convincing. And those cost sometimes, I mean, they range anywhere from $800 to $3,000. But the thing about it is they last a long time and they look real. And that's what I really wanted. So I had invested a lot of money to buy one. And then at the time, my husband bought a really cheap one, which I did not like. Because I told him I was going to buy a really fancy, expensive one. And then he goes and buys a really expensive, cheap one. And because he spent so much money on it, I no longer had the money to buy the fancy one. So that never worked out. One of these days, I will get that tree, that fancy tree, the one that costs like $1,500. But yeah, so, but because it's so expensive, and because I moved up here to Portland, I had to get rid of literally half of everything I own. Quite literally, 50% of everything I owned in California is not here with me. I had to get rid of a lot of it so I could downsize, so I could move. And one of the first things to go was Christmas decorations. So that's another reason why I don't decorate, is because I just don't have them. And they just, my taste in decorations is too expensive for my own good. So, yeah. I've missed a lot of comments. I'm trying to scroll back up. Ryan says, do you have more than one Queen Mary book? Oh, yeah. I have the Cunard White Star Line quadruple screw stern steam line. It's such a tongue twister. I have that book. I have the Queen Mary, Queen of Queens by William J. Duncan. I have The Stateliest Ship by the Steamship Historical Society. And I have... I can't see my bookshelf from here because my boxes are in the way. But I have a fourth book about the Queen Mary. Yeah. So I have 4 books on the Queen Mary. And then the rest of my ocean liner books, there's like various ones about Mauretania, Titanic, Oceanic, so things like that. And then I have the famous book, The Only Way to Cross by John Maxtone Graham, so I have that book as well. So yeah, I have 4 Queen Mary books. Oh, the 4th Queen Mary book that I have is the Queen Mary Manual by Gary Chambers. So Gary is a friend of mine, and his book was sold on the Queen Mary up until she closed for COVID. And so, yeah. So I have that too. Yeah. SS Normandy says, was Queen Mary's third-class accommodations good? For its time, it was excellent. For today, not at all. Today, our standards are way too high for Queen Mary's third-class standards. But back then, her third class was unmatched. No other ocean liner could match Queen Mary's third-class accommodations. Not even SS Normandy. So, yeah, she had very amazing third-class accommodations back then. But today, it's not at all what we would consider a high-quality experience. If someone said, Alex, you know, if Queen Mary was still around, right, and she had not been changed over the years, and they said, Alex, I will gift you a free voyage on the Queen Mary if you stay in third class, I would say no thank you. Because the third class accommodations were really not what people want today. I'll tell you that much. I do not want to share a toilet with 40 other passengers. I don't want to share, you know, a bathtub with 40 other passengers, you know, like... I know that Cunard was really good at keeping that stuff clean, but that still bothers me. Like, it's like, you know, the intimacy of using a toilet and using a tub is not so intimate when you're it's basically like a public restroom. So, no thanks. That's not what I want. Goofy Roll says, would it be possible to set the teapot on some kind of heater to keep the water warm without damaging it? Yeah, I'm sure there is something like that out there. I don't have the money to buy it, and I'm not sure I have anywhere to put it. Again, I live in a really small studio apartment, and it's filled to the brim with stuff. So, I'm trying to minimize the amount of stuff I buy for the house. Ryan says, I think your Queen Mary videos do the best, in my opinion. Your ocean liner videos in general, but mostly Queen Mary. They do the best. I really, really badly need more footage of the Queen Mary. You know, earlier this year, we were all hoping Queen Mary would open October 1st. I had planned to go down to Orange County on October 1st to film the whole ship top to bottom, stem to stern, so that way I could have lots more footage to make videos out of. At this point in time, I have so many Queen Mary videos I want to make for you guys. Problem is, a lot of them, there's nothing to show in the video. If I made them into a video, they would be a black screen because there's nothing to show. I need footage of the Queen Mary. I need it desperately, and I need very specific things in that footage. So that's why I need to go back to the ship. So that's why there hasn't been too many Queen Mary videos as of late, is because I've literally run out of things I could show you based off of what I own. So I own a lot of footage. I own an hour's worth of B-roll footage of the Queen Mary, but that's not enough. I need a lot more. So when the ship reopens, I'm going to try to go down there, film it, so I can make those videos for you guys. But it's been very difficult. Ryan says, have you ever watched Hocus Pocus or The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown? I'm a millennial. I've seen those. Yeah. Ken says, the acting in Legend of 1900 is terrible. I wholeheartedly agree. Hey, James. How's it going? Fun Edit says, I don't really celebrate Halloween, but sometimes I would watch a scary movie like It, the Clown, or Chucky. Okay. Ryan says, what decorations are considered tacky? Well, for instance, tinsel garlands. I hate tinsel garlands. I also hate decorations that are like, if it's a Halloween decoration and it's like a cutout of a witch and she's riding a broomstick and it's like covered in glitter, like black glitter, I can't stand it. I can't stand any kind of cutout decorations. I don't like cutout anything. I can't stand it. Especially like cutout jack-o'-lantern images. I can't stand it. Like not on an actual jack-o'-lantern. I mean like a piece of foam or something. I can't stand that. I also really don't like... Let's see. If it's for Christmas, I don't like plastic, like cheap plastic looking Christmas, like tree decorations. If it's gonna be plastic, it's gotta be very convincing. But even then, I've always bought glass. I just think they look better. Some other tacky things. Tacky decorations I don't like. Oh, I don't like anything that is like... I don't know the word. But like anything that's like Santa's legs sticking out of a chimney or something. Or like a dancing Santa robot. Or like a... You know... I don't like stuff like that. Now... One thing I do like, though, is when people have a really nice Christmas village. You know, people set up those Christmas villages, and they kind of light up, and it's like a small, like European town. Those are okay, if it's done nicely. But if they're, like, chipped and broken, and no one's ever bothered to repair them, then you can just throw them away, because I don't like them. But yeah, that's kind of just an example. I just don't like cheap stuff made of foam and cheap materials. I don't like that. One of the things I do like, though, is like, if you're going to have a Christmas garland, I like ones that look realistic. You know, the same kind of thing I was talking about, the tree, the Christmas tree. I like garlands that look realistic. And some people actually spend the money to buy real garlands. Those are really expensive, so I don't recommend them, but those, I always appreciate real garlands. So yeah, things like that. Spyro. Yeah, you can do something like that. That'd be cool. Tyler Frederick says, I didn't know you were married. Yes. A long time ago. It was a whole different life back then. Justin says, Ghost Ship is pretty good horror film and places, but also melodramatic in other places. It's a spectacular opening, of course, if you don't mind seeing people breaking up over it. I remember Ghost Ship. I remember when it came out. It was okay. Russell says, the problem with Christmas trees is you also have to dispose of them in January. That's true. My sister waits till February 1st. Because she loves the Christmas season so much, she will leave her decorations up through January. And she'll get rid of them February 1st. See you later, Sad with Books. Mark says Halloween was never a thing here in Australia. When in America back in 1989, I had to ask a shop assistant. Now, though, it's a marketing concept here to sell more expensive stuff to kids. You know, to be honest, that's really what Halloween is here too. Is it's just marketing. You know, like we start selling Halloween decorations like in July, which is really weird. Christmas decorations, you know, you'll see those appear as early as, you know, August in stores. August. But some of them, sometimes you'll find Christmas decorations year-round in our stores. It's all about marketing. Yeah. We've had many cultures in the United States that celebrate a kind of deathly tradition or season. So, you know, a lot of it dates back to the Feast of All Saints. So there's a day, All Saints Day. And then there's also, in Mexican tradition, there is the Dia de los Muertos. So those two very key holidays, especially others that I forgot to mention, all led to the United States just celebrating Halloween as a thing. And so, yeah, so we really prize Halloween. But it gets dangerous every year when kids go trick-or-treating. You always hear terrible stories. When I was a kid, it was dangerous enough to go trick-or-treating. Back then I remember there was like talk of like people like poisoning like candies and stuff. Now today people are just getting mugged outright. Like, no one even bothers to poison the kids. They just like abduct and mug the kids. It's just ridiculous. You know, people nowadays like it's just crazy. SS Normandy says, how did you get all these collectibles from Queen Mary? I wouldn't call them collectibles, only because they were never meant to be sold to people like me. They were just, the ship retired and they had all this extra stuff, so they auctioned it off. But this stuff I have from Queen Mary, I get it all from eBay, you know. It's like I tell everybody, if you ever want to buy anything in this world, check eBay. People have it, you know. They try to sell it. So I got all my Queen Mary stuff from eBay. And not all at once. You know, eBay's not that simple. It's not like going to Amazon and you buy a whole set of something. On eBay, you have to buy everything individually. And yeah, that's what I did. It took several months to acquire all the stuff I have, but I got it all eventually. Spyro says, hey Alex, would first class on the original RMS Queen Mary be what would be considered third class today? No, it would be considered way better than that. Yeah. First class on the original RMS Queen Mary would still exceed the standards of today. That's how good it was. It would still exceed the standards of today. Hello, Conrad. SS Normandy says, does Cunard still use classes? Technically, yes. They have the Britannia Club, Princess Grill, Queen's Grill. Those are the 3 classes. Liners of the Past says, are there any plans for any interior restoration projects on the Queen Mary? Yes, there are. And in fact, but don't think of them in terms of like top to bottom restoration. It's like restoring important things within the interiors. So, but yes, there are. There are. As is normally says, when will Queen Mary open? We don't know. Justin says, all of the classes evolved on different ships and got better accommodations. The bigger and or better ocean liners got no matter the size. The reputation of the company mattered after a while. Ryan says, I love Queen Mary and I have some footage, but you've probably seen them all already. Do you have any that you haven't used? Any on her last and maiden voyage? Oh yeah, I have tons of footage that I haven't even used yet for my videos. Basically, what I did years back, like 2 years ago, was I just scoured the internet for all available footage. Anything. And I kept it. And even today, I occasionally still scour the internet to make sure. But if there is footage of the RMS Queen Mary on the internet, you can bet that I have it in my collection. Yeah, but Justin, the thing about real trees is that they don't start absorbing. So, okay. When trees are young, they have a really bad carbon footprint. They actually create carbon, which goes into the atmosphere and further destroys our ozone. So, I would say the first 30 years of a tree's life, it produces more carbon than it absorbs. And then after that 30 years, once the tree has kind of matured, then it starts absorbing more carbon than it produces. And that's when it becomes very, good. But the thing is, if that's a Christmas trees are usually cut anywhere from 10 to 20 years of age. So all they do is cut the tree and grow more, and that produces more carbon. So yeah, they produce oxygen, but they also produce a lot of carbon. So that's the thing about Christmas trees, is that they don't live long enough to make up for how much carbon they produce. Ryan says, your video, Queen Mary A Whole Lot to Know, has 30K views. That one blew up. Yeah, I wouldn't say it blew up, but I mean, I have lots of videos that are way better views than that. Justin asks, Alex, would you have taken the last voyage of the Queen Mary all the way to California, going past the equator and so forth? I understand it was a hell of a trip for everyone left on board. Would I have done it? Knowing what I know now, probably not. Because those 2 trips through the equator were really, really bad. There was almost no respite from the heat. The heat was bad. So, I mean, people died. That kind of bad. So, yeah, not that voyage. Any other voyage across the North Atlantic, I would have done it. Willem, how's it going? Sounds good, Spyro. Little Gamer says fresh dill. No, I don't have any. KR Doodle says, did you go to Shacktoberfest at the Queen Mary? No, I live 1,100 miles north of Queen Mary. I can't go down there for Shacktoberfest. This is Normandy says, how did you start your channel? That's kind of a broad question. I just one day started making videos and I uploaded them. Hello, Sylvia. You didn't miss much. I'm half asleep anyway, so... Alright, I'll check my email later. See you later, Fun Edits. Oh, I finally caught up with all the comments. My gosh, there were so many. It was getting out of hand, like I couldn't even catch up to them. I love Earl Grey tea. Oh, so, even though I started work on the new tunnel for my train layout, I might not be able to finish it till next week. Because I only had yesterday and then this morning to work on any progress on the trains. Now I've got to continue back to doing regular videos. So, yeah. That sounds cool, Willem. Ryan Hines says, do you eat candy on Halloween night? No, I'm not really a candy person. Ryan says, which poster is your favorite to have hanging? I mean, they're both hanging. The other one's right around the corner on the wall. So I don't take them down. I just switch them, that's all. But yeah, I don't really eat candy. I like chocolate. Willem says, just call me Ruben. I won't remember that. I'm sorry, I won't. There's thousands of people on my various live streams and videos. I can't remember people's names. If it's on your if it's on your username, then that's what I read. Some people they they change their username and they go, "Oh, I'm this person, remember?" And I'm like, "I don't remember." Like, there's, I remember usernames. I don't remember people's, like, individual names because there's just so many. Right now, there's only 46 people watching, but you can bet in, like, 2 days, there'll be, like, over 1,000 people who've watched the live stream, and each of them have a completely different username, so I can't remember people's names. Alright, yeah, I have to go soon, too. It's been an hour and a half, but the stream is already slowing down. I can kind of see it. SS Normandy says, what got you into ocean liners? Actually, I have a video coming out this Friday about that, so I'll save that answer for this Friday. Lightning McQueen says, I built a rudder from a shelf. Okay. I just realized that pumpkin bread was the only thing I've eaten all day so far. But that's okay. After the live stream is done, I'm gonna make dinner, and dinner is gonna be roasted chicken and Cajun macaroni. I used to make these Cajun au gratin potatoes, and they're really good, but au gratin potatoes, they take a long time to make. And so I thought, because I always make macaroni from scratch. It just tastes better, in my opinion. And one day I thought, well, what if I made this into Cajun macaroni? Like, just, And so I did, and I was like, this is good. And ever since then, I've always made Cajun macaroni instead. Okay, Spyro. Hello, Keith. See you later, Russell. Have yourself a good night. Daniel says, hey, Alex, could SS Nomadic make a journey across the Atlantic and maybe survive the rough seas? If it... I mean... No. If it went through some bad storms, maybe. It wouldn't be a very pleasant journey, but maybe. But it's really meant to be just a ferry, to go through a harbor. It doesn't even go that fast. I think its top speed is 14 knots. So, yeah, I don't even think it can go that fast. And a slow ship in a storm is not a good thing. Because a fast ship will try to push against the winds that try to drive it off course. But a small boat with not enough speed or power might not be able to overcome those winds, and you get knocked way off course. So... Ryan says, which Queen Mary book that you have is the longest? I guess it'd be The Queen of the Queens by William J. Duncan. It's not a long book either. It's only like 250 pages long. So it's really not a long book. Yeah. I consider a book long when it has like 500 pages or more. That's when I'm like, this is a long book. But, Keith says, Alex, what video project are you currently working on? Well, I have one being published this Friday, so it's not technically being worked on anymore because it's done. But the next video project will be a Halloween-themed one. It's going to be about the vampires of the Ursuline Convent in New Orleans. So that's going to be the next video I make. And that one will probably air next Friday, maybe sooner if I think I should post it sooner. Because the thing about when my videos don't get enough views, I have to put out twice as many to make up for it. And so that means I have to work extra hard. And so I don't want to have to make a video that has to be released sooner than next Friday. But if the views just don't come back up, I will have to publish videos more often. So, and that just, oh, I lose sleep over that kind of stuff. So, yeah. And then after the Ursuline Convent video, is going to be a video about either Johann von Oldenbarnevelt, or it's going to be Oceanic, because I've been working on both the Barnevelt and the Oceanic. I've had those in the works for months. I just haven't had the time to post them, but those are the next videos in the works after the Ursuline Convent. Yeah. Goofy Roll says they should make semi-submersible ships. If a storm comes, they can sink low into the water to help overcome the storm. You mean like... I don't know what you mean, because if you're talking about, like, part of the ship still stays up above the water, then that doesn't matter, because, you know, even a submarine, which has, you know, it's peaking above the water, that will still flip over in a storm. What helps is when the submarine is far below the surface of the water to avoid the movement of the ocean. That's when it helps. So if you mean by a semi-submersible ship, meaning like it can go several, like, you know, several hundred feet below the surface, then yeah, I could see that working. Let's see. K4RNA says, just won a Cunard Queen Mary kosher meat plate in Plyglass? Interesting. Sylvia, yeah, the convent one will be interesting. I wanted to wait to produce more New Orleans videos until I go there, but, you know, there's so much stuff I want to talk about of New Orleans, and so I'm just like, I might as well just make a couple videos here and there. But yeah, because it's Halloween season, I wanted to talk about that scary little story, so... Oh, interesting, Tyler. Teresa says, do you play games? Technically, no, but of the games I do play, I play simulators like Titanic, Honor, and Glory. I have a Disneyland Railroad simulator, and I have a simulator called Railroads Online. And occasionally I play Enlisted with my friends, which is a World War II game, but that is basically it. I do not like games, generally. So... Evan Scott says, hi, Alex, why are they working on the Queen Mary boilers for? Well, not to be confused, Evan. They're not working on Queen Mary's boilers. They're working on the hotel boiler. So there is a modern boiler that sits on the dock that is for the hotel accommodations. and that one is non-functional. It recently broke, so they are working on that. But it's not a boiler like you think of, like a steamship boiler. It is just a normal modern day appliance that hotels often have. So that's what they're working on. But it's not like Queen Mary's original boiler. Liners of Our Time says, people died on the Queen Mary's last voyage. Yeah, a few people. One of them was a salad chef. He died of heat stroke. So you know, he was in his cabin and he was just not feeling well, and his crew, the crewmen were trying to give him water and stuff, but he eventually died of heat stroke. And then there was a passenger, a very old person. They died of a heart attack, but that might have been related to the heat. Yeah. That's what I remember. There might have been a third. But yeah, there were 2 people. I don't play Minecraft. Yeah, sorry. I don't like the way Minecraft looks. When I was a kid, we wanted the graphics to look better on all games. We were tired of seeing pixelated graphics. And now it's weird because now everybody's obsessed with Minecraft, which is pixelated graphics. So it bothers me. I don't play Minecraft. I don't play games anyway. I'm not a gamer. I don't play games. Daniel, yeah, I didn't see your last comment, but this comment says, hey Alex, are you planning on doing an ON30 train station or any other buildings? Of course. There's gonna be a whole town, and there's gonna be a train station. So yeah, it's gonna be a small place. It's gonna be a small little, they call it a whistle stop. So it's basically a place where trains stop to refuel and resupply and get water. And there's going to be a little town there with just a few buildings. And it'll be located along the edge of the river. There will be an engine house. So the engines can actually be stored inside a building. So there will be an engine house. Yeah. And then surrounding the town will be a forest and natural landscape. Spyro says, let me know if there's things I should change about the... I'll do what I can, Spyro, but I hope you don't expect that I'm gonna be having this long, drawn-out conversation about that. I do have a really, really busy schedule. So I can look at your images and, you know, tell you what I think, but I can't sit there and go over the deck plans with you and help change things. I'm way too busy for that kind of thing. Teresa says, can you sleep on the Queen Mary and eat? At the moment, no. But the ship is a hotel and tourist attraction. So yeah, there are restaurants aboard and there are hotel rooms aboard the Queen Mary. So when the ship's fully opened, you should be able to book those accommodations, but at the moment we don't know when the ship will reopen. Sylvia says, well, that would explain why Cunard were not keen on the last voyage. Not good for their image having people dying from heat stroke. Yeah, Cunard was not happy with that last voyage. They did not want to do it. Tico, yes, I'm making progress on the layout. I built a water tower, which is behind me right here. And then I'm also in the process of working on a tunnel for the other side of the layout. And then after that comes landscaping. So the landscaping has to be done. So in the coming weeks, it won't be white anymore. It'll be brown and gray and all kinds of landscape colors. Anne says, random question. You can have lunch with anyone you desire. Who would it be? They can be alive or dead, but must be someone famous. I wouldn't. I'm a person who firmly believes never meet your idols. I firmly believe that because I have met a few of my idols and have been disappointed. So I don't do that. Yeah, if someone had offered me to have lunch with one of my idols, I would not do it at all. So oh, California Rail Production says, what is the name of the town/railroad? Because I haven't really been here for the last few videos. So the railroad is called the Tumble Rock Canyon Railroad. Tumble Rock being one word. So Tumble Rock Canyon Railroad. And then I haven't decided on the name of the town, but I might refresh an old name I used on a past layout. I might call the town itself Hill Creek Hollow, because there's just something about that name I like. So, oh, the chat moved again. Celia says, how are you planning to do the ground? Will you be using sand mixed with glue or paint? No. So, basically, what I usually do for the ground is I paint it, and while the paint is wet, I start laying down the varying, what do you call it? The ground foam layers. So I have all these ground foams. Well, this is an example. They come in big bottles like this, and inside is different colors of small grit foam. And this one is the kind of foam that makes for really good little tufts of grass and bushes, things like that. I have smaller ground foam that is like powder, and that looks really good as moss. So there's things like that. And I spread all the ground foams and stuff on there, and it creates a beautiful looking landscape. And because this is themed after the Pacific Northwest, there's going to be so much ground cover, you really won't be able to see the ground. It'll be covered in all kinds of things, plants and bushes and leaves. I also plan to buy miniature leaves, so there's there's like miniature leaf litter and stuff like that, and I plan to buy some of that. Actually, I saved a lot of leaf litter myself, because you can actually like grind it up into small tiny particles, and that looks like miniature leaves, and you can like sprinkle that everywhere. So that kind of thing. And then there's gonna be trees in the future. Someone today donated towards a tree. But there'll be trees and stuff in the future. But yeah, that's basically how you do it. And then I have bought special rocks for boulders and pebbles and things. Those will be individually glued to the surface, piece by piece, in areas I think will look good. Yeah. Because here in the Pacific Northwest, you don't just randomly see rocks everywhere. Like if you're in the forest, you're more likely to see like just a bunch of ground cover. It's only where there's a rocky outcropping that you start to see rocks. So I have to be very careful and very selective about where I put rock work. The rock work will all be sculpted in plaster. And then I also have plaster cloth for making the basic shape of the hills. But I also have sculpting materials for sculpting out the rocks myself. And then there will be a couple of waterfalls here and there. No, I haven't been affected by any forest fires. Awesome, Spyro. See you later. SS Normandy asks, do you like history? Not at all. K4RNA says, you better not forget my tree. I won't forget your tree. Skadoo says, just hearing you talk about your model railroad makes me want to start mine. I've been gathering track and trains and model house kits. I just currently don't have the space. Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, this thing takes up a huge chunk of space in my apartment. I mean, it's unbelievable, but you know, I'm the kind of person, I'm just like, I've always wanted to have mine, and so even though it takes up a bunch of space, I just kind of like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get it done. But yeah, there's a lot to be done. I will feel a lot better once the landscaping on it is done, because even though I won't have all the buildings ready and I won't have all the trees there, at least if the landscaping is done, it will look more nice, and I'll have less and less people thinking that I carved out Antarctica over here. So, yeah. But I like this little water tower I did. I'm really proud of it. It's probably one of the most detailed structures I've ever made. Because again, this is my first time working with O scale. So I've always done N scale, and N scale there's really no need for such high detail because you really can't achieve such high detail in N scale. So I'm really happy with how this water tower turned out. And you know, the fact that there's like, I don't know if you see it, but what's dangling in the front, those are real chains with real weights on the end. And I can actually work with real materials in this scale, which is so new to me. Like, there isn't a stick of plastic on this whole thing. This is real wood, you know, real metal. It's really, oh, it's amazing. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Conrad. Dino, everybody asks that question, and the answer is always the same. I'm so bad at designing ocean liners. I did try to design one that would satisfy, you know, the ocean liner fans while still satisfying modern audiences, and I did draw one out. I don't think it looks nice. I don't think it's possible to design an ocean liner that looks old but satisfies modern people. Because I drew it out, and it doesn't look nice. It looks pretty ugly. So, yeah, I don't think so. I don't think there's a way to do it. The closest thing you can do is like what they did with Queen Mary 2. I think they did it very well on that one. But even then, it looks very, very modern. So, yeah. Jeff says, ahoy, any interesting insights on the film Assault on a Queen? No, I haven't seen the movie. Skadoo says, love the chain detail on the water tower. Yeah, I do too. That was really cool. I designed that water tower from scratch, which is a big deal for me. Because when I worked in N scale and HO scale, I used to buy model kits. But because this is ON30, there's very limited stuff that really fit with the aesthetics of the railroad I want to have. So I knew that I had to make everything from scratch. And this water tower was certainly one of the most complex things I've ever built so far. And it was entirely designed from, you know, from drawing to reality by me. So I am really impressed that it came out looking so good. Because a lot of the stuff in the past that I've made has just looked like crud. So that's funny too, because I can picture things before I build them. I know how I want them to look, and then I just build it that way. And so that's one of those, this is an example of something where I look at it now and it looks exactly as I imagined it. Teresa says, would you build the Queen Mary model? If I had a model kit, yes, but from scratch, no. I can work with old-fashioned stuff like this from scratch because it's easy. It works just like construction. You cut out the wood materials and then you assemble them. Ocean liners are not the same. You know, it's just really complex. You know, and the details are too small to cut out individually and build and construct like a real ocean liner. It's just, you know, and then the complicated shape, like this is easy because it's a circle on top of, you know, prismatic lumber shapes, you know, it's easy. But ocean liners are very complex shapes. I can't do that. That's way beyond my ability. Oh, thanks so much, K4RNA. Green Boy says White Star or Cunard. Cunard. Thanks, Sylvia. Alright, folks, it's been 2 hours, and my phone is about to die, which means I wouldn't be able to read your comments for very much longer. So I will say thank you guys so much for watching. The next video to come out is on Friday, and that is that video is about why I fell in love with the Queen Mary, how I got into ocean liners, and why I make videos about them. So it's going to be an interesting little video. That's on Friday. Saturday might be chapter 3 of RMS Queen Mary, Queen of the Queens, and then Sunday is another tea time. And so more videos are coming out over the next coming weeks. The first coming update video for the trains will be on Tuesday, and so you'll see how I built the water tower in that video. So yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.